What's going on, y'all? My name is Brett Cody Fornatoro. I've got some of the biggest headlines that happened over this last week, and I'm excited to break all this down. So let's get straight into it. The biggest story that has been dominating the headlines is, of course, the government shutdown, which is now prolonged to become the longest shutdown in U.S. history. Uh, Many issues that have been caused through this shutdown. We all know about the Affordable Care Act enhanced subsidies that have been debated about, the funding for SNAP that's become a big point of contention, air traffic controllers and other government employees that haven't been getting paid during this time. Let's get into this. The enhanced ACA subsidies in the debate over this issue. So what these subsidies are is they were passed during COVID. Before that, these enhanced subsidies had been implemented. Obamacare, which is the more colloquial term for the Affordable Care Act, these enhanced Obamacare subsidies originally only applied to people who were below a certain income threshold. And these subsidies that were passed during COVID removed that threshold to where people in higher tax brackets, people with higher income, were then able to receive subsidies for their health care. And so that's been a big point of contention because at the end of December, at the end of the calendar year, these subsidies are set to expire. And the Democratic Party is using the shutdown as a way of leverage. The term that they've used is that they're leveraging the shutdown to kind of force the hand of the Republicans to extend these subsidies. And so that this has become a major point of contention of um, extending the subsidies, retooling the Affordable Care Act in ways that can prolong the healthcare system in the US further out into the future. Even Bernie Sanders was on the floor of the Senate the other day saying that the Affordable Care Act is not a long-term solution to healthcare in the US. Whether or not you agree with Bernie Sanders' plan, which can be a little pie in the sky, so to speak. Even someone as far to the left as Senator Sanders was on the floor yesterday on Saturday saying that the Affordable Care Act is not a long-term solution to healthcare. So right now there's been a lot of debate back and forth on the future of American healthcare and what that looks like. And the topic of debate right at this moment are these expiring subsidies. The next issue within the government shutdown is revolving around the funding of what's called SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. The funding for SNAP, more colloquial the colloquial term for SNAP, is better known as food stamps. People who are on food stamps are recipients of SNAP funding, which are payments that people receive to buy food if they're below a certain income threshold. The Democrats have put forward a bill that would provide this funding for SNAP that the Republicans have rejected under the premise that if the Democrats were to vote to reopen the government, SNAP funding would be fully replenished. So there's a bit of back and forth there. The president has rejected the idea of using executive funds to fulfill these obligations, and the Supreme Court has sided with the president that it would be unconstitutional for the president to issue these funds, that money has to come from Congress. So this has become a big point of contention between Democrats and Republicans at the moment, is the funding of SNAP. It would appear that the most logical choice going forward would be to pass the clean CR, the continuing resolution that the Republicans have put forward to replenish the funding for SNAP so these people can receive these payments. Because this clean CR, it doesn't really have any partisan priorities within it. It's a bill that the Democrats have voted for and passed numerous times throughout the last few years, even within the Biden administration, and even as recently as March of this year, they voted for the same level of funding that they would be voting for right now. So it would just seem to be the most logical and obvious choice in terms of how to replenish SNAP funding would be to reopen the government to pass the clean CR that the Senate's voting on currently. And then furthermore, air traffic control, which has been, at the heart of Americans recently, given that we're entering the holiday season, people want to travel, they want to go back home, they want to see their family, and rightfully so. And they're having flights delayed, flights are being canceled because the air traffic controllers aren't getting paid. Uh, as recently as this week, the FAA had to cut 10% of funding across 40 of the most high volume airports in the US. As of Friday, that was 4%. As of Saturday, that was 10%. And they've even suggested that if the shutdown continues uh, any further, that it could go up to 20% reduction. There's already been 1,000 flights that were canceled. This is as of Saturday, Saturday the 8th. And again, those flights could continue being canceled. They can continue being delayed. Americans won't have the opportunity to go home to see their families over the holidays if this shutdown continues further. The next story that's really been shaking up the world recently has been the election of Mamdani in New York City. Uh, and really why this has become such a big point of contention are certain views that this particular politician has promoted, has campaigned on, that really pose a threat to traditional left-wing establishment principles. To give some background on who this guy is, he comes from the New York State Assembly. He represented the 36th district within the borough of Queens, which is a very left-wing district. In national elections, typically the 36th district votes for the Democratic candidate about 80% of the time. So this isn't, a moderate district. It's not, very balanced between the two parties. This is a very far left district where this politician is coming out of. And so if that's any suggestion to the priorities that he represents, you can kind of predict the future of New York City from that point forward. Some of the issues that people have really taken opposition towards when it comes to the things that he's had to say. He's had various positions on the issue of communism and anti-Semitism that he's really put forward into the forefront of who he is as a politician. He spoke at a Young Democrat Socialists of America conference where he promoted the idea of seizing the means of production as the end goal for America, which I mean that comes straight from Karl Marx. So there's been a lot of sentiment within the media, he's not a communist, he's a democratic socialist. Well, his own words are to seize the means of production as the end goal. I mean that's textbook communism, that's textbook Marxism. If you're looking for something that is more fair and balanced when it comes to your politics, this is not the guy for you. Furthermore, he's been issued a list of demands from the same organization that he spoke for, the Democratic Socialists of America, who within their demands want the mayor to ban Israeli products from city-run grocery stores. The very stores that he campaigned on were grocery stores in each borough that would be administered through the government. And the demands being made of him is to not sell Israeli products at those stores. He's been demanded to arrest the Israeli prime minister and any IDF soldiers if they were to enter New York City. He's been demanded to end the New York City Israeli Economic Council, something that was set up under the previous mayor, Eric Adams. He's also been demanded to remove nonprofit status from any organization raising money from the IDF. So you can see kind of the infusion of communism and anti-Semitism being some of the core pillars on what he ran for as mayor of New York City. And so this is why he's become very um, polarizing, so to speak, within the landscape of American politics and kind of where you see the future of New York City going. Furthermore, he's suggested to raise taxes by 2% on the top 1% of income earners in New York City. And as it stands currently, the top 1% in New York are already paying over 40% of the total taxes received by the city. Um, if you are in the top 1% of income earners in New York City, you're paying nearly 50% in income tax, where you can compare that to some of the lower tax states around the country, states like Florida, Texas, Tennessee, where they don't have an income tax. The state doesn't have an income tax in some of these states, where so the top income earners are only paying federal income taxes of 37%. And so I think a lot of New Yorkers might see that as an opportunity to save 13% of their annual income by moving to a city like Miami, a city like Dallas, a city like Nashville. Even if you were to move to, Atlanta, you'd only be paying 42 and a third of your income in taxes. If you were to move to Louisiana, you'd only be paying 40% in income tax. So I think a lot of wealthy New Yorkers are going to see themselves as having the chance to flee from an area that's promoting ideas like communism and anti-Semitism to go live in states that don't feel that way, in states where you could be saving six figures a year, just for living there. Furthermore, on the issue of recent elections that have taken place, we saw the governor of Virginia was up for re-election, where a Democrat won that election. Headline: Democrat wins election in blue state. Same thing within New Jersey. Again, the big headline being a Democrat won an election in a blue state. But nonetheless, these two, well, I guess these three elections have, really been sweeping the nation in terms of the headlines seen in the media. But all in all, the Democrats won elections in areas with, a high concentration of left-wing voters. So I don't see these as being major headlines, though they have been taking the forefront of the landscape. The last story we have to talk about today comes from the man himself, Elon Musk, who is set to become the world's first trillionaire. He recently signed a new pay package with Tesla that was voted on by the shareholders. Um, he received 75% support from the shareholders who voted at their annual meeting to receive this payment package. Possibly the worst take on the situation comes in from a Texas state senator who appears to be running for re-election, who made the claim that Elon Musk is getting paid off the back of American taxpayers, which is completely, the furthest thing from the truth, obviously. Not a penny of this pay package comes from taxpayers. The government has no involvement in this issue at all. He's not even getting paid with company money. The pay package that he's receiving comes in the form of new stock. So he'll receive an increased amount of ownership within the Tesla company through this pay package. But nonetheless, you've got these, far left progressive politicians who want to make the issue about, he's riding the back of taxpayers because Tesla received government subsidies, which of course Tesla's paid back in full, even paid back more than they were given. So that, this is not an issue of taxpayer money, but at the same token, it's I mean, this is a major headline. We're going to have the world's first trillionaire. That's a lot of money. But nonetheless, you're getting some of the worst takes on the situation from none other than Democratic politicians. And so really, I guess that's the major headline of the week is the left is ripping apart America. They're limiting the amount of development. They're lying through their teeth about every possible issue that they can. Um, and there you have it. You've got a week in review of some of the most major headlines. It was a pleasure talking to you. And again, my name is Brett Cody Fornatoro. I'll see you next week.